Oh, welcome to this edition of our Family Hour program. I'm Craig Wynn. We've got Kirk, and we have Leah here, and we also have Kevin. So we have a full cast. I can see Kevin, you up there on the top left, and Kirk right beneath him. I think somewhere here before long we'll have a picture of Leah. Don't see Leah on my screen at this point, but we have
There she is.
all
Now we
three
play
of you,
bridge.
all three of you available. It's been a rather extraordinary time today. This is the Shabbat, approaching Shabbat here in the U.S. Virgin Islands. You're still about a day away, I would assume, out there, Kirk, and the People's Republic of California. Did they still give you, like internet out there now that it's a banana republic out
It's
there?
controlled by the federal government now.
Yeah,
so
now that you're a military state,
yeah.
yeah, there's still freedoms.
Well, I don't want Sylvia to run around alone.
Wow. What one would have thought that the spat that we saw between Elon Musk and Donald Trump was the greatest theater you'd ever see in the White House of children acting badly. And then, Trump is always able to pull out the next item of chaos. Just when people were trying to get their hands around what in the world just happened, and then you have some malcontent Antifa, and it looks like 40 or 50 of them, and maybe 100 retreads from Black Lives Matter, which are essentially Marxists, that were having a conniption fit over ICE. Now, I understand that ICE is being belligerent, and I don't want to make light of it. I think that in the Hispanic community, with the way they have gone into homes and into communities and places of work, and have pulled people out that have been in the United States for a decade, and then how the President of the United States and the MAGAs have demeaned Hispanics, calling them all manner of names, from rapists to pedophiles to thieves to drug smugglers, and it's just grossly unfair. And I can understand why Hispanics would be upset with this. Everyone should be upset. If the MAGAs had a brain, they would be upset. But the protests over like a 4-block area of Los Angeles, you could tell the protesters, they were Antifa and retreads from Black Lives Matter. They had nothing to do with any of this other than it was an opportunity to riot, and to send in the National Guard to say that you are the only reason that LA has been burnt to the ground, and then to send in the Marines is so
Overkill.
Yeah, it's like Germany in the 1930s. It's just, you can't. Words don't even describe how grossly inappropriate that was, and how disgusting it is to have the MAGAs continue to lash out and demean it. And just when we thought that was about the worst that this president could possibly be, sending in the U.S. military to take over a state, now you have this fiasco over this situation in Iran, where the president said he was going to bomb Iran if they did not give up their nuclear ambitions. They did not. He said, "Oh, well, I'm going to negotiate directly with them." He did not. He said, "Oh yeah, we're having great progress in the negotiations," and no, they weren't. Every step of the way lied. And then twice Israel said, we're really reaching a crossroads here. We need to respond. And on both occasions, the president not only said, "No, you can't," and bad things are going to happen to Israel if you do, and because I'm going to be the one that imposes them, threatened him. One time he actually went to the New York Times to screw around with Israel, just to demean Israel. And then, finally it comes down that the Iranians twice told Donald Trump, "Hell no, we're not doing this." He gave them 60 days, which is enough time to finish all of their refining and to finish their whole nuclear project. They said, hell no, we're not doing this. Go away. And even then, he wouldn't honor his commitment to bury the Iranian nuclear programs. When Israel says, okay, then we're going to do it, then he went and told the Iranians that the attack was coming. And then he moved out all the personnel to just to underscore, oh, yeah, the attack's coming. And then he has the Secretary of State says it was a unilateral attack. We had nothing to do with it. And then Trump comes out with the most inane tweet of all Twitters. You know, I'm repulsed by the President of the United States. Now, the other thing I'm repulsed by is if you turn on where I get most of my news is YouTube. I see no value whatsoever in what's called the mainstream media. They're completely lost. And I don't think you can really get anything that's credible on X either. There's a little more thoughtful presentation on Facebook. But the best sites by far, if you're interested in any particular subject, is to cultivate a group, subscribe, if you will, to some channels that are really good at presenting current events that you care about. And unfortunately, well, they're all exceedingly accurate on Iran vis-a-vis Russia and American and NATO stupidity. They all hate Israel. Oh my God, it was disgusting today.
Mm-hmm.
And like Jeffrey Sachs, who, I understand Jeffrey Sachs is a professor at Columbia, which means he is likely owned and operated by Qatsyr. And that makes him exceedingly prejudiced. He's clearly an anti-Semite. And say, war for war's sake. And you have all these guys saying that the Iranian program is, it's no reason that they can't have a nuclear program. And you're going to say, there is a 0% possibility that any intelligent individual can conclude that a country that floats on oil and gas is going to sacrifice their economy and their economic prosperity for very expensive atoms to boil water, which is what a nuclear plant does. There's none. I mean, it's just ludicrous. And there's so much overwhelming evidence that the uranium enrichment not only past 60%, but is at 90%. And they have a tritium factory, and they have the ballistic missiles. They have everything for a nuclear bomb. They've already refined all of the uranium 235 to 90% fissile purity.
While screaming death to America.
While screaming death to America and death to, we have religious fanatics that celebrate death, that are that mad is not going to work against because they are mad. And I mean, that mad is mutual assured destruction. That's not going to work against them. They think that if they die killing Jews, they go directly to Allah's brothel. And they're developing nuclear bombs after they have sponsored the most brutal attack on Jews ever on October 7th. Yeah. And they're developing nuclear bombs. And you want to say that Israel doesn't have not only a right, but a responsibility to take that out? Absolutely. And you got goddamn Jeffrey Sachs saying, oh, it's war for war's sake. And then all the other experts just crying about how inappropriate Israel was to remove this threat. Listen, I'm no fan of Netanyahu. I think that he is a disaster. I think that he's toxic for Israel now. And I think that his ongoing behavior in Gaza is suicidal. To continue to bomb Gaza, to turn the entire world against you when you're making absolutely no progress is insane. And you have zero chance of success on your war aims. And you're prioritizing hostages over Israel's security. I think it's just insane. So I'm not a Netanyahu fan. I hate his alliance with the parasites, the Haredim. But the fact of the matter is, he was put in a position where he had no choice. Yeah. You either do this or Israel's going to be nuked. And there was really no question about it. And there's no real question about how long it was going to take them to finish that program, particularly since the United States had amalgamized the relationship between China, Iran, and Russia and North Korea. The United States screwed that up so badly that now Iran has all the help they need from nuclear powers to become a nuclear power. So it was needed, and then the whole world turned against them. Now, I did scan just before this program, and I may have read this incorrectly, so if I'm wrong, I'll apologize tomorrow. But that in the range of 99% of the emails coming into the White House regarding the Israeli preemptive strike against the Iranian nuclear facilities, that 99% of the MAGAs are anti-Israel.
Wow. Really?
And under that basis, if true, and it appears to be that's the ratio, and I'm not surprised because Trump has done everything he can to signal that he doesn't like Netanyahu, and if Trump doesn't like you, when Trump doesn't like anybody, but when he announces that he doesn't like you, the MAGAs all swoon, and so we should expect this to happen. And of course, Trump is setting up Israel's betrayal, which means he also has to betray Netanyahu. But if that's 99% and you're dealing with 99% of Marxists and 99% of Muslims, the three M's are about to coalesce into the worst bout of anti-Semitic rage in the world's history. So as we consider what has happened here, what we know is that Israel's first strike was aided and abetted by Mossad agents, either that or special forces of the IDF, being brave enough to take drones into Iran and be positioned to take out anti-aircraft batteries in Iran with the drones, flying them from Iran before the airstrikes. Yeah. And that as a result, Israel, to my knowledge, has not lost a single plane. And that they have now flown two comprehensive raids, a nighttime raid last night and a daytime raid today. And that Nance, to the best of Israel's ability, is destroyed, and that they began to work on Fodor today, and that they have taken out the top 5 or 6 generals in the Iranian military and the top 3 or 4 scientists. That's, as I understand it, as it sits right now. They flew over Syrian airspace because the U.S. sponsored the Islamic State to take over Syria with Jolani, and the Israelis, in the vacuum of power, took out the Syrian military so that Syria is free airspace. And after doing that, they found that the Iranian airspace was essentially devoid of the ability to down the Israeli aircraft. When you look at the bombings, it's pretty astounding right now that Iran, a big country, Iran is huge. It's something in the range of 70, 80 million people, that they have no air defenses. This is a country that's spending their money on a nuclear program and they have no air defenses. And how's that even possible? But that appears to be the way it is. And one of the things that I predicted is that this time the gloves would come off Iran, and that's not a big prediction. Most people were able to do that as well. But that if Iran has enough to do it, there's nothing that would keep Iran from sending in 50,000, 60,000 missiles, drones, and rockets. And that the IDF with the Iron Dome cannot take out that number of rockets. They're initially, while they have interceptors, some 3 to 5% are going to land. And I understand that there have been some direct hits, one in an apartment building, and I think that the number of number of injured is in the 50, 60 range, and seriously less than a handful. But no, this is a long night for Israelis. Our thoughts are with you, Israel. I know many of you would be up listening right now because you can, and that you need to stay alert this evening. And it's going to get worse before it gets better. So, a great travesty for Israel. What you guys, we talked about it today in one of the programs, that my grave concern for Israel is that they get overconfident. That the beeper bombs were brilliant. They certainly had their way with Hezbollah, and they have destroyed Gaza. They have not destroyed Hamas, and they can't destroy Hamas because Hamas is Islamic and Gaza is Islamic, so they're never going to destroy Hamas. But they certainly bombed Gaza into oblivion. And this is now the third successful raid into Iran, and this one would be very successful militarily, it appears. And so there is this real possibility that Israel starts to feel like the IDF can protect them. And they will forget about what happened on 10/7 when the IDF not only didn't protect them, it didn't even show up.
Yeah.
Israel, like most militaries, wants to buy the equipment necessary for the last engagement. In this case, it would be the Yom Kippur War. Tanks, Apache helicopters, gunships, fighter jets, fighter bombers. They want submarines, and they want a fast corvette fleet of ships. They want traditional warfare stuff. That's what generals like. But that's not how they're going to be hit.
Yeah, well, drones.
Yeah, well, it's a combination of two things. One is that the world has not caught up with the nature of drones. And I remember 15 years ago doing a whole series on this, on how drones forever changed warfare, because now it's easy for a head of state to say, I'm going to go and send drones in and kill a bunch of people. And Obama was the most guilty. Yeah, guilty of that. He was a mass murderer worldwide. You don't have to have any justification. You don't. There's no trial. There's no considering of evidence. You're not risking your nation's sons and daughters. You just go and wreak havoc. Drone warfare has changed a lot because now you have the swarm, and the swarm is really lethal. And there's not very good defenses at this point for the swarm. And the big issue now is that the old interceptors like the IDF's Iron Dome, and whether it had been Star Wars with Reagan or the Golden Dome with the dumpster, these systems are now completely inappropriate for swarm drones, even for massive rocket attacks. If Tehran were to send 20,000 missiles, drones, and rockets into Israel, they would completely deplete the Iron Dome, and they would annihilate Israeli population centers. And the thing that is so obvious now in this process is that the first 10,000 drones that you send in, they don't even have to have warheads.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the cheaper they are, the better, because it costs anywhere from $100 to $1 million for an interceptor. The U.S. THAAD systems upwards of $1 million. The Iron Dome interceptor is about $150,000 a piece. You can make a drone or a rocket for under $1,000, and so 10,000 of those with the differential in cost, and you bankrupt the opposing country. But they deplete all of their defenses, and then the next 20,000 90% of those are going to hit. And so the devastation is overwhelming, and there's no longer a defense for them. So now what? And this is where Israel finds itself at the moment. What the prophets speak of, this would be Yoel and Yashaya in particular, is that what happened on October 7th, I predicted a year in advance of October 7th, based upon what the prophet said was going to happen to Israel. But it's not the war that the prophet spoke. The war the prophet spoke takes place during the time of Jacob's troubles. It starts a year from now. And the way it's described as this, and they actually use the term flood, which is interesting, Alaska flood, and the prophets use the term flood. It talks about the hills turning black. There are so many of them that you cannot count them, which means they number in the many hundreds of thousands or millions. And they come in two ways. One is on foot, as they did previously, these jihadists, and the other is in the form of drones, rockets, and missiles. And it sounds like it's going to be at least 100-fold what happened on October 7th, which would be, you're looking at 1,200 killed. So it'd be in 1,500 that were badly mutilated, killed, or abducted and tortured. Let's just use 1,500 as the number. Multiply 1,500 by a 100, and you're at 150,000 that suffered this way. But I think the number is actually going to be 1,000 times, and that's 1.5 million Jews that are going to succumb, and you're going to succumb in three ways. And this future war, which I think will start in June of 2027, about a year after the time of Jacob's troubles begins, and the Islamic State is carved out of the heart of Israel as a Fakistinian state, rewarding the very terrorists of 10/7, because clearly now with the United States calling that war off and trading hostages for the survival of Israel, and then carving out a Islamic State presence in literally the heart of Israel. The Muslims won October 7th, and it was a test, and the test was successful, and they're going to repeat that. And it's going to be so devastating that I think you're going to see far more than 1,500,000 Jews die as a result of what is happening in terms of this rage of anti-Semitism and Trump's betrayal and America's betrayal, and the world just turning against Jews and being put in an impossible position and isolated in that impossible position. Trump's plan is to have security guaranteed by himself, and he's never honored a promise in his life. The French, the French war salute, and the Saudi Arabians, who invented the religion that has perpetrated apartheid and genocide on Jews for 1,400 years.
Group.
So now what? But I think that this is the biggest problem right now, is that Israel does not know the effect that its actions are having on the rest of the world. And now, for example, the 3Ms, the MAGAs, the Marxists, and the Muslims all want Jewish blood. And they're making themselves more vulnerable, trying to defend themselves. And they're not prepared anymore for Alaska flood 2.0 than they were for 1.0. And 2.0 is going to be 1,000 times worse. So it's a very frightening period, and we can't get Israel's attention to the extent that a significant number of Israelis returned to Yahweh. But it had to be, we have to know that we were not going to be successful and having anything but, thousands amongst billions
cleaning. Yeah.
8,000 people perhaps among Goyim and Yehudim that make the Shavua harvest, because if there were 1 million or 2 million Jews in Israel that returned to Yahweh, embraced his name, returned his son to his rightful position in their lives, David, then Yahweh would protect them.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
So there wouldn't be any purpose of Elia returning or being met by Yada for the two last witnesses. There would be no purpose of the teruah harvest. You wouldn't need it. You wouldn't need the sacrifice of the red heifer. It would all be unnecessary if we prevail to the extent that there are hundreds of thousands or millions of Jews that embrace Yahweh's name between now and teruah, or certainly now in Shavua. So we can sit back and rest assured, folks, that we're going to fail.
It's not a failure. We're going to meet expectations.
You can only, they have to respond. You can only do what you can do.
No, the fact is that we exceed expectations.
Yeah.
It's just that the expectations are quite low. And that the reason the expectations are so low, I would say that Yahweh's reasonably convincing, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
Yeah, and reasonably intelligent?
Mm-hmm.
Would you consider God intelligent? Conversant.
Yes.
Is he able to communicate? Is he articulate?
Yes, very much.
Okay, so Yahweh is very articulate. He is very intelligent. He is exceedingly capable. Would you say all that's true?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay. Didn't Yahweh accompany the children of Israel during the Exodus?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay. And of the 600,000 that were part of that original crew, how many made it into the promised land?
Two.
Two. God.
2 of 600,000.
Yeah.
That's not very impressive, is it? That's Yahweh, and that's Yahweh with Moshe. So he's got us. I'm just saying.
Teruah didn't have any fans either, and look what he did on 33 CB.
Yeah. So Dode, the ultimate hero of Israel, the brightest Israelite that has ever lived, maybe the brightest human that's ever lived, easily the most articulate human that's ever lived.
Yeah.
Probably the most courageous human in history. So most brilliant, most articulate, most courageous human in all of history. And he told the world 1,000 years before it happened that he'd be crucified on Passover, and it would happen in 33 CE. And then he did as he had promised. And how many Jews were there that he managed to garner their attention, who said, "Hey, that's my Messiah"?
Not a one.
Not a one. Not a one. And I would say, since the relative situation here is that Dode is the greater light, I'm serving as the lesser light. He's the sun, I'm the moon, and there's a sizable difference between the two. It's a 400 to 1 difference, and it's even greater than that when you consider the sun actually creates light and the moon just simply reflects it. And he's king, and I've got the job of herald, which is slightly one step above Joker, I think. I kind of like being a Joker.
That makes us dust.
Yeah, so so there's a sizable difference in our capacity and overall stature, right?
Yes.
And would you run down again and tell me how many people responded to Dode predicting that he would fulfill Passover via crucifixion, giving the exact date in 33 CE, and then doing it in the most miraculously choreographed and sacrificial gift ever offered humankind? How many was it again of his own people? And by the way, he is in Israel, in the city of Dode. He's the king of Israel in the city of Dode. How many did he manage to convince that
Zero.
He was the guy?
Yeah, there's not a record of any.
Zero. So we can fail by having maybe 8,000 people out of 8 billion join us on the Shabua harvest, and that would be a rousing success, wouldn't it?
Well, in that
Yeah.
light, yes. Yeah, very
Yeah.
much.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of where we stand and all of this. And
I'll take those odds.
I'm going to take those odds. Obviously, we're going to do our utmost to have both quality and quantity. But, you know, one of the reasons for something as extraordinary as the 11th chapter of Bamidbar Numbers, and it is just extraordinary. I started it today in the Chakma Chodar series. When God says that my people, they really pissed me off. I'm just disgusted by them. I'm so disgusted by them. I want to go outside the camp here and just burn everything up. And I just think they're reprehensible. And then he comes back, and Moshe is about to commit suicide. And he says, I want to do suicide by, you've heard about suicide by cop?
Yeah.
Well, he was trying to do suicide by God. He said, kill me. I'd rather be dead than have to deal with these people. That's how bad they are. And you read something like this and you say, all right, well, by comparison, I think we're doing okay.
If I may,
Yeah.
I know how Moshe felt. When I speak to Yahud about Yahweh or about Judaism, I feel the same way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same way today. It's exactly the same. You do need to turn that microphone so it's more directly into you, not up. That would be even better there, Miss Leah. Thank you. It's good to have Leah here in her zebra pantalones here for the show.
Class the place up a little bit.
It does class the place up a little bit. We have to be on our best behavior.
Let's go.
We actually have Rich over here too. We have a light on him and a camera on him. We don't know if he's going to show himself as well, but we could be we could represent like 10% of the Shabua harvest if we're if we're not careful here.
All in one place here, yeah.
Yes. We try to have fun at this. Yeah, we actually have a sense of humor, and the reason that we do our best to show that we have a sense of humor is that you just have to ask yourself this question. Moshe, really serious guy, right?
Yes.
Was there any point where we see Moshe cracking jokes?
No.
No.
No, matter of fact, every time things went bad, Moshe did a face plant. Randy Allen did a face plant 100% of the time. I don't think there's a single situation where ever set up. Now, you take another guy. His name is Elijah, and he actually invites trouble. He says, "Bring that damn king to me. Yeah. I want the king and his queen here. Bring him to me." And they show up, and they got their big entourage and all of their soldiers and police escorts and all that kind of stuff. And Elia just gives him
both barrels.
Oh, both barrels.
Oh yeah.
And in the ancient world, you do that against the king or the queen, you're dead. Okay. And Elia said, "I don't give a crap. You're a piece of shit, and your politics are rubbish. Your religion is rubbish. So here's what we're going to do. I'm telling you what you're going to do. You're going to bring all 850 of the prophets of your ridiculous Christian religion. I'm going to call it the Christian religion because it was the religion of the Lord with the Queen of Heaven and the Mother of God. It was the Christian religion. And you're going to bring that religion and all those prophets of this religion, and you're going to bring them right here, and we're going to have a little showdown." Yep. And he did, and he was unbelievably sarcastic. I mean, he yanked their chain big time. He knew exactly what their religion was based on. He mocked them when the sun got to its zenith, and he says, "Come on, this is your God's time. I mean, it doesn't get any better than this. Maybe you need to pray a little harder." I know. Even gods need a nap every once in a while. Maybe your God's taking a nap. Just need to be a little louder. Okay, I'll give you more time. Your God is in the crapper. He's taken his little potty break for the God, but surely you'll get his attention after a while. By the way, we're going to make this really easy. Your God, the Lord, of course, always the chief gods were always lightning bolt gods. So his big thing is to shoot a lightning bolt. We're going to make it really easy. That'll make the ultimate contest here. We're just going to light this fire of these wooden planks underneath the bull. Of course, it's a bull because 2,888 years later, I get to be the bull on top of those planks. The very fact that God chose a bull for this time does tell you a lot about God's nature, doesn't it? He didn't pick another lamb. So it gets to the point where he's saying, you got a lightning and thunder God here. You'd think that the one thing you guys could do was to light the damn fire.
To light a fire.
Nope. I mean, what you got is the most anti-religious, anti-political prophet of all of Yahweh's prophets, and the most sarcastic. And so Yahweh has a chance to pick anybody he wants to come back as one of the two witnesses. Does he pick Moshe?
No.
No, he doesn't pick Moshe. He picks Elia. And then he just says, well, that's this other guy. He's pretty sarcastic too. We'll have a retread with him. We'll bring him back too. In fact, he's even willing to die for us. So, pretty cool.
Didn't tell him to the last minute, though.
Yeah, well, of course. If you told me I was going to have to be
blood, that when you're opening dialogue.
It's not just you're getting it. For those who haven't been with us this whole time, the job that I accepted is not just the choder, which sounds, okay, you're a stick, a smart sucker if you look at the whole deal.
Real,
you're a smart sucker.
Real eloquent, yeah.
And that's okay. That's not very glamorous. And then you're a nakar, which is an observant foreigner. Well, okay, big whoop-de-doo there. And you're a herald, which means that you've got the job that's right above Joker in the king's court when Dode comes back, and so and there's a Zeroa, which means you're out there with your hoe, you're tending to the next harvest to make it as productive as possible. It's a pretty descriptive title, and so here you are, and we're going along with all this stuff, and you find out his name is Yada, which means know it all, which is kind of a slap in the face a little bit there too, but
know it all.
We're still we're making this go, and then Yashaya says, well, he's a really a talkative stick.
Yeah,
the six goes. But then he drops the bomb on us. Yeah. Oh, by the way, he's the Adam of Parah, and you may want to check and see what happens. The what? Oh, now I understand why you're bringing Elia back. He's the guy that roasted the bull.
Yeah, roasted the bull.
And who is it that's going to take this guy? Oh, Satan. Thank you very much. So you get to be bludgeoned by Satan. Oh, that sounds like a lot of fun, God. Why didn't you tell me that when we got together?
Lead with that, right? Yeah.
24 years ago. Couldn't you have led with that?
Yeah. Good timing.
It's a need-to-know basis. I didn't need to know at the time. I probably wouldn't have
honest, it was all there. It was all there.
Oh, it was all there. I just wasn't smart enough to figure it out. So, and then, can you imagine that ultimately your greatest discovery is to find out that the most popular religion in the world, where they turned a man, well, they didn't turn a man, they turned a myth into a god, and through identity theft, and that Jesus Christ never existed, and you have the honor of telling
2 billion people that?
Yeah, 2.5 billion Christians. Oh, by the way, your religion is in a fake that was created by Paul in 52 CE.
Right.
And say, that's going to work out really well. And oh, by the way, your other job is I want you to write the most expressive, most undeniable account of why Allah is Satan and Muhammad was demon possessed and was a sexual pervert and a rapist and a mass murdering terrorist. But don't worry about it, because I got your back. Even though no one's ever survived that before, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. Don't worry about it. You get to get death threats from Muslims for 20 some odd years, and you get to get mocked for exposing the false nature of the most ridiculous religion ever in Christianity. And then, you get to tell Jews, by the way,
rabbis don't like you either.
The three, that's the toughest one.
Yeah, your rabbis are your worst enemy. Your Messiah is actually Dode. He is the king. He is returning. He, by the way, is your savior. And that false Messiah that you love as your star, Bar Kokhba, son of a star. Yeah, he's the guy that started the diaspora leading to the Holocaust. And you passed over with this goy, figured out that though David is the son of God, he is the Messiah, he is the returning king, and he was your savior. And you follow me on X. How's that going so far?
Yeah.
That's a rough road to hoe, as they say.
Yeah.
So rough.
I'm about as popular as Moshe was.
Yeah.
It's just that
We love
Moshe,
you.
Yeah, there's a different. Well, thank you. And there is
Moshe had more followers. Well,
Well, no, I don't think he had any.
More of a, he had a gang around him.
He didn't have a single follower. Let's be honest about this.
Well,
he had revelers, rebellers. He said, "There's not one of them that I can deal with. Just kill me." So that's
pretty bad.
That's pretty putting it right there. So it is a tough damn audience, is the bottom line here. And so here we are, Israel. This is the best you got. And I think Yahweh was actually having fun with the whole thing. To tell you the truth, I think for the first time he's having a laugh out of it. I think first time since back in Eliah's day, I think he thought Eliah was hilarious. And Eliah will be doing a comedy roast every Shabbat for here to eternity. So Dode's going to be the singer, the star attraction. The warm-up act will be Eliah. I've got to figure out how to do something, maybe dance or something as the Joker. But that's going to be our entertainment. I can be a storyteller because I can talk forever.
You can.
Yes. if I may.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
She's trying to straighten us up.
Yeah, I was thinking earlier today about the role of the observant foreigner, and it had occurred to me, the offer was made to the children of Israel. The books were recorded by the children of Israel. The religions that opposed Yahweh were created also by the children of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
And while we were given this opportunity and bungled it, did we? Horribly. We created the enemies that would come to kill us. We have a lot of skin in the game, to say the least. And the offer is open to everyone. Goy and Yahud, Yisrael, whoever you are. The offer is open to everyone who wants it.
And that's the difference, Leah, between if a Jew were given this job versus a Gentile, is that, well, I'm focused on Yehudim because the earth is destroyed if we fail with Yehudim, so that seems like a priority. I just as soon have, Dode come back for a happy family reunion as opposed to God saying, and twice, but the last time in Malachi in the last line, if you fail, by the way, I'm going to destroy the earth. So it seems like a wise thing to prioritize the people. Prioritize. But the very fact is that up to this point, we have been pretty equal in reaching out to Goyim as well as Yehudim. And I don't think that would have been true if this last witness was an Israelite.
I don't think so either.
No, I
And
agree.
furthermore, I think that it's time maybe the Goy put a little skin in the game.
Well,
That's you, honey.
Gentile have a lot of skin in the game. Satan,
You're Bashar in the game.
Satan is the one that gets to tear it apart. The Yeah, so I get we have a lot of skin in the game, and when you have thousands of death threats from Muslims for writing "goddamn religion" and "prophet of doom," that is some skin in the game, and you devote
Definitely.
100,000 hours of your life, and
That's a
you pay
whole
for the
lot of
privilege
skin.
as opposed to get paid for it.
Yep.
That's I would call that putting skin in the game. Turning on these cameras 2 and 3 times a day, and and sitting here in live streams, I would say that's probably some skin in the game. Writing 35 books and offering them all free.
Skin.
I would say that's skin in the game. So I got a lot of skin in the game, but I'm not unique among Goyim that have a lot of skin in the game. What ethnicity was Adam? Was he in Chawa? Were they Jews?
Nope.
No, absolutely not.
No. How about Abraham and Sarah?
Nope.
No.
They're Babylonians. And then what about Yishak?
Nope.
No.
What about
Look,
Leah, Rachel,
No.
Jacob?
No, aren't any.
None of them.
Mm-mm.
Not one of them. Esau. No, not one of them were Jews. And in fact, of the 12 sons, only one of them was technically a Jew.
One of
The
them
rest,
technically a
the rest
Jew.
were Israelites. But you have every character prior to the sons of Jacob being Goyim, and Yahweh goes full circle on everything.
Yeah.
That's just his nature. He goes full circle on everything.
Yeah.
We left the Garden of Eden. We're coming back to the Garden of Eden.
Whoop, whoop.
Yep, I like the idea of coming back to the garden. Leah and I both love gardens, but don't always love the idea of having to work in them. I did enjoy working them. I liked having dirty hands. I don't have the time anymore, but I used to enjoy that a lot. Love gardens. So I'm delighted about that. But Yahweh likes to come full circle on everything. So why not come back to a goy? I just think that's consistent with who he is, and when Yahweh was creating the covenant with Abraham, there were no Jews at the time, were there?
No.
Oh, sure.
And that the covenant was clearly presented. It's God's family.
Mm-hmm.
So for Abraham and Sarah to be the first two, and then Yishak and Jacob after that to be part of the covenant family definitely has some goy in it, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think it makes sense to come back. And God, when He wanted to save a remnant of the people from the ensuing flood around the Black Sea, where the Garden of Eden was, He picked Noah and his sons and his wives and his wives' sons. They weren't Israelites either.
Not a
Ruth.
one.
That's the one that blows me away more than anybody is Ruth.
Ruth. Yeah.
To be the grandmother of the most beloved,
Mm-hmm. Although Ruth is actually I think the great grandmother
Yes.
of Dode.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some with the local tribes. She was Moab, wasn't she?
Yes.
Yeah.
Moabite.
With the local tribes, I think there was not much distinction between Moab and Yisrael. You even look at Edom, and I'm the man from Edom. That's the other part of this too. And fortunately, the man from Edom, yes, Isaiah says he's dressed appropriately. So, I know I'm good to go there. But the man from Edom is covered in blood, and he saves a great many because of the bloody sacrifice that he offers. But Edom is from what's the fellow's name that gives the name to Edom?
Esau.
Oh, that's the one. So I'm sorry. Isn't it great that we have a resident Jew as part of our program here?
Jacob's
Esau.
brother.
Somehow I knew you'd know that answer. So
Jacob's
okay,
brother.
and before I ask the question,
Yeah.
Jacob's brother.
Naturally.
So if you're the man from Edom, aren't you part of the family?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cousins count.
Yeah, just well, in
Brother.
the case of Esau, his brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
He's
right.
the
That's
brother.
right.
He is Jacob's brother.
Firstborn.
Yeah, in fact, he's actually the firstborn. He's actually the firstborn of the.
Yeah.
There you
Of
go.
the two.
Firstborn.
Yeah, so he's
So
actually
there's that argument.
he is the firstborn of the brothers that ultimately became Israel.
Mhm.
So the man from Edom, he's not just a total stranger, is he?
No, sir.
No. So there you go. All right. So we've laid our groundwork. We've had some fun. We've talked about why we're here, who you are, why we're talking to you, what we're hoping we achieve with you, and if you're up in Israel and getting bombarded tonight, you got one eye open. You might as well keep your ears open and listen to what we have to say. I will guarantee you that if your preference is to leave this planet alive, then you want to hear what we have to say, because what we have to say is the only way to do it. All right. So immediately after delving into the Torah's teaching regarding what happened at Gan Eden, and then comparing those insights to the Torah's instructions, particularly to the Moed, particularly to Sukkah, which is to camp out with God, I realized that Yahweh would cleanse the earth so that we could return to where we had begun. And I think I came to that conclusion 23 years ago. I may have been the first person to actually deduce that. And it just seems so obvious. And then I remember taking better part of a year to analyze everything we could learn about Eden, about Adam's personality, pluses and minuses, Chawa's real interesting character there, not only in the garden, and then how the serpent Hasatan, who was a cherub, the cherub, who climbed off the wall and managed to twist Yahweh's testimony, misrepresenting what God said, which is the whole nature of religion. Judaism, Christianity, and Islam are all based on the same strategy that the serpent used with Chawa. And then what happened afterwards in terms of the names of those sons, waste of breath, for example. Very bitter woman, Chawa. And yet not only bitter, but she wanted to be better than God. That was her deal. She wanted to be better than God, and she was just bitter inside. And she reminds us of Judaism. Really. And
Sure enough.
And Adam reminds us of most people today, oblivious. He shirked his responsibility. He was oblivious. He just went along. So we spent a lot of time, really analyze those characters and what we could learn about those really four characters, Yahweh, Adam, Chawa, and the serpent. And I think did a more comprehensive analysis, a bolder and more in-depth presentation than all of the rabbis combined and all the Christian theologians combined. And we learned a lot. So I think we have a pretty good understanding, therefore a real good base for saying what God has later confirmed, that we're coming full circle. He is going to restore the earth to the conditions in Eden. And from there, we can make some interesting deductions. And we're going to read this passage here in a moment that confirms that conclusion. And what we know about Eden is that Judaism was practiced there, right?
No.
Oh, no?
No.
Oh, okay. No Judaism. Okay.
No.
How about Christianity?
No.
No,
No religion,
no.
no politics.
There were no
military.
crosses there? No
No.
dead
No
gods on the
crosses.
deck?
No crosses.
Thank goodness.
No
Hey,
trilogies?
Nothing.
Trinities?
Nothing of that.
No. And no
No,
mother
huh?
goddess.
Okay. They celebrated, with all those trees, they celebrated Christmas, right?
Absolutely not.
And they have Easter
Yeah.
bunnies. They brought in all the animals.
No.
I'm sure they had an Easter.
No Ishtar bunnies. No, none of that.
Oh, no. Gosh.
But they
Mm,
were
okay.
naked, and that does pose the thought: if we're
okay.
going back to Eden, do we have to be naked?
Okay.
Because yeah,
Leah said no.
it's
It's your best outfit as far as I'm concerned. Okay. I'll keep the show PG here.
Okay.
So there'll be rabbis, of course,
No,
making a
no.
buck on
Nope, nope,
on cleaning the
Selling
house,
clothes.
offering blessings and making sure that we're all eating kosher. Well, by the way, are there kosher rules
No,
on
no.
on
There
diet?
aren't, there aren't even in today's Torah.
No, wasn't any of that either. So we're not going to. Chances are not going to have any rabbis, huh? No
No.
rabbis, no
No
priests,
twirling chickens
no
either.
popes,
Nope.
no twirling chickens on Yom Kippurim.
Oh
No.
God,
Uh,
no.
okay, but you're going to have jihadists, though, right? Going to have uh, virgins as a reward for murder. Clearly,
Yeah.
right?
No.
I mean, Islam talks about going back to the garden because that's all the snake knows, the snake that became Allah. You're going back to the garden, and he must have liked, maybe Adam and Chava never got it on, and that's the first of the virgins in the garden. Who knows? But the fact of the matter is, we're not going to have an Allah. We're not going to have a Jesus. We're not going to have a Hashem. We're not going to have any rabbis. We're not going to have any priests. We're not going to have any hint of religion. But how about a
Whoop,
military? Certainly got to have a military,
No,
right? I mean, you got to
no,
have
no.
parades and somebody's going to be providing security. No military either? Huh. Okay, no patriotism then.
No, guess not. No flag.
Okay.
No
Wow,
stars.
no flags. Wow. Okay, well, so this is
Wonderful.
becoming interesting. How about a judiciary system?
Nope.
No.
No.
Not if you got your shafat in your heart.
Okay.
Yeah,
Now it's going to be lounging around though all day long, right? You're going to be
Yeah, I would like to work. No, I don't
work. Oh yeah, he did. He told Adam that we're going to be working the garden together. So we're going to be working and it can be a lovely garden, but it's going to be work.
Think so. You gotta get
And
your ass to
we're going to have loving companions, and that it was men and women, and Yahweh's presence right there and communicating with us. But so for the earth to be returned to the conditions of the Garden of Eden, will there be any churches, synagogues, or mosques?
No.
Get rid of all of them.
No. How about tanks and rockets and
No.
and
Gotta melt
drones?
them away.
No. So, but there will be animals.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So, for God to restore the earth to the conditions found in Eden, what must go?
Religion and politics.
Yeah, religion and politics. They have to be gone.
Military, economic scheme. We don't need money.
Right. So the very thing that religions say that they control the means to God. They're the very ones that'll be controlled by God and excluded from heaven and from the garden. That's ironic, isn't it? So it reads here, as they approach, fire will consume them. Who's they? Now, remember, we did this in a prior show. Those who are approaching are the Muslims and the Marxists, and now we've got MAGAs turning on Jews too. The 3Ms, Manny, Mo, and Jeff here, but I guess we need three M names. They are all going to be consumed by fire. So it's going to be quite a cathartic experience for the Muslims that are coming there to rape and plunder and torture and kill Jews, that all of a sudden this wall of fire comes up and it consumes them. And it, by the way, it's also going to consume the rabbis and the priests and any political leader and any religious leader in the world.
All those who are opposed to Yahweh.
All those who are opposed to Yahweh or his people.
Yep.
In fact, one of the things that is apparent with the two witnesses during that time is that, right now I get tired of if y'all respond once, twice, three times to somebody who is religious and belligerent, and then I just delete them, mute them, block them, whatever you need to do it, because it's just not worth anybody's time. But in those last 3.5 years, when we're tired of somebody making a religious fool of themselves,
Say goodbye.
we're going to have fire that consumes them. So it won't be fun to debate us. So as they approach, fire will consume them, and it will come behind them. It has to come behind them because it's got to incinerate everything that they have brought to bear against Israel. a fire blazes as the land and the earth come to resemble. What does that say there? Comes to resemble
The garden.
Gan Eden. Yes. Come to resemble the garden of great joy. Therefore, the earth is being purged of religion, militancy, politics, and it will be restored to the conditions that existed in Gan Eden. That is where we're headed back. So this millennial celebration, starting in year 6,000 Yah, on the 7th of October. 7th of October. It's a Shabbat. Of course, you'd want to have the millennial Shabbat start on a Shabbat. It will be a full lunar eclipse because celestial fireworks are just fun. And that 1,000 years between your 6,000 Yah to 7,000 Yah is going to take place on Earth, restored to the conditions found in the Garden of Eden. That really sounds highly desirable to me.
Yeah, but can we go back to the fire breathing stuff? I've always wanted a pet dragon.
So I am the pet dragon.
Yes, you're the pet dragon.
Sounds like a good job.
That would be an awesome superpower.
That would be a good
I don't like you. Poof. Oh. Yeah, I like that.
As an
I'm so jealous.
introvert, she wants. I think we have to operate it responsibly.
Yeah.
And this Garden of Great Joy is what appears before them, which means behind them and where they are themselves is consumed by fire and incinerated. And then as we look at what's left, it's all restored to the Garden of Eden. But behind them is a desolate and unpopulated wasteland clothed in horror, because God's going to get rid of all of this. And as he does, and he throws out the trash, it's going to look pretty messy there for a bit until he terraforms the earth. And I think there's going to be a short period of time where God's going to want all of us who are part of this transition to remember what we were given. You know, it's one of the things that didn't resonate during the Exodus. I think God is going to want a different result this time. When the children of Israel were taken out of what was apartheid and genocide for them, where they were being worked to death in Mitzrayim, Egypt, what is the one thing that they never, ever said or thought about or seemed to register with them?
Yahweh.
Say thank you.
That we have been taken. This is where we were, and this is where we are. You know, we were with these people that were abusing us, perpetrated apartheid on us, genocide on us. We were being worked to death. And now we're out here with God. He's feeding us, clothing us, educating us, and taking us to the promised land. The contrast in those things is better than just the magnificence of being headed to the promised land, in my view, and I think in God's view. And the people never had any appreciation of it. And so for those entering the millennial Shabbat, wouldn't it be helpful if they had some appreciation of what
Where they came.
man apart from God was like?
Mhm.
And that to some extent there will be some places, particularly around Babylon, which is where the Whore of Babylon is going to be stationed. The Leah and another accomplice, two women, get to carry her and dump the Whore of Babylon in Babylon. And I think the area around it's going to be scorched earth. I think God wants us to have a way of comparing and remembering what it is like to be not with him. The very thing that the children of Israel never came to appreciate.
He even talks about the outside of Jerusalem, where their houses, their homes, and will be used as sheepfolds. You know, and their buildings will be used as sheepfolds, places for your sheep to graze and get out of the weather and stuff. You know, there will be remembrances. You know.
Do you know where that is? I do. Leah, do you know where that is? Where are the sheepfolds going to be?
Sorry?
Where are the sheepfolds going to be during the millennial Shabbat?
Close to Dove's house.
In the land.
A prophet told us.
in the land.
Zephaniah.
Gaza, and
Yeah.
Yeah, Zephaniah told us it's Gaza.
yeah,
So,
Oh,
so the
really?
ruins,
that's right.
yeah, whatever
Whoa.
is built back on Gaza, they're going to be for roaming sheep.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to be sheepfolds. So, which means that God wants to have some memory of just how horrid it was,
Yeah.
because it's, I've always said that a person who's just given, mansions and fast cars and a huge the Donald Trumps of the world, where you're just given
Yeah,
everything you could possibly want.
Entitled.
You're entitled. That kind of person never has the ability to appreciate the value of work, the value of even being moral,
or of struggle.
They have no moral judgment.
No.
And so one of the things that will be helpful is to have a contrast. Contrast is what being judgmental is all about. Being right requires there to be wrong. To be fair requires there to be unfair. And for something to be better, something has to be worse.
yeah, yeah.
So I like the idea of having glimpses of how horrid, humanity had been. And once we've all learned the lesson, now we don't actually need to, but there'll be some people in the Millennial Shabbat that need to. We get the lesson every day. But then I think when we finish this 1,000-year celebration of life on Earth, and 1,000 years is a reasonable time. We have plenty of time to camp out and enjoy life here. I think as we move into the next phase, there'll be no reason to have remembrances of what was horrible previously.
Yeah.
So I think this will have served a function. So left behind them is a desolate, unpopulated wasteland clothed in horror. In addition, there is no escape or deliverance from them. So the trash is going to be incinerated so that it does not foul the surrounding gardens as the earth is transformed from hell of a man's making to heaven, from the dominion of men to the liberation of God. Now, that is fortunate for the few who join the covenant before the conflagration begins. As for those who came to destroy Israel and decimate Yehudim, not so good. There'll be no reprieve, no escape, and no saving them. And this includes all ultra-Orthodox Jews. There won't be a single ultra-Orthodox Jew, not a single Marxist, progressive Jew that's going to survive this gauntlet. They've been opposed to Yahweh. They have misled people regarding God. They're not welcome. We're not entering
Why would
eternity
they
with them.
be? Yeah. Why would they be welcome? They're
Yeah.
hostile to Yahweh
They are.
entirely.
And they're hostile to Israel, really.
Yes.
Yep. There'll be no maggots in paradise.
No.
So, if you're a MAGA, you may want to give it up now and get your act cleaned up so that you could actually be considered. There'll be no Muslims in paradise. There'll be no Christians in paradise. No Hindus either, but that's another story. So while I'm obviously beating a dead religion, Joel 2 could be addressing the fulfillment of Shabuah, the counterfeit of it, which should be Pentecost, as it was claimed by Ptah in 33 CE, when he spoke of the restoration of the earth such that we return to Eden. It will occur, but of course, 2,000 years later than Peter portrayed, and St. Peter won't be among those who make the cut. He's going to, be lots of saints, actually, but they're all going to be in Sheol.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, spoiler alert. Be lots of popes, too.
Oh, yeah.
They're also going to be in Sheol. Presidents, prime ministers, they'll all be in Sheol. Very political and religious place, that Sheol. So for those who have read A Goddamn Religion, which I would encourage Jews to read now, because I think it really is the only hope that there is to combat the this religion that has been devoted to apartheid and genocide against Jews for 1,400 years. You'll stop lashing out at symptoms and know the real beast and exactly what you're fighting against, a demon who wants to be perceived as greater than Yahweh. And it will maybe even help you do something that is essential. If you come to read goddamn religion, you'll understand Satan's motivations, and then you'll come to understand just how important it is to recognize Yahweh. You know, if you had recognized Yahweh and continued to speak his name over those 3,500 years, there would be no Judaism, no Christianity, and no Islam. None of those religions would be possible if Jews maintained Yahweh's name. Something to think about. So I would strongly encourage you to read goddamn religion, and that you will know throughout the Quran that Allah was preoccupied roasting almost everyone in his hell's fires. Allah is hell's warden. That's the only place he is found in the Quran, is in hell. That's going to make this a shocking experience for those expecting to find virgins as part of a pay-for-slay package with their God. So it will be interesting to see the expressions on the faces of these militants who believe that Allah would dish up decadent treats rather than now confronting Yahweh, who is there to incinerate them. Now, best possible news for the survivors among the Jews, because not only are all the Muslim mujahideen thwarted at this point, and their really sadistic desires, and then consumed in the flames, the blaze is transformative, leaving beautiful gardens in its wake. One of the sides of this horror of religion, and the other side is going to be a loving relationship. This is the karat. This is the line that is drawn in the sand. Now, the final assault against the promised land and chosen people, even with the militants buttressed by militaries, will be no match for God. Although it is possible that the Zeus, which can be rendered either as something which flies or a war stallion, could speak of a barrage of missiles or rockets or drones replicating what occurred recently, really, on a much more devastating scale. However, before the marauding Muslims are swallowed up by the flames of Yah's fury, they're going to take one last stand. This time, it appears that they'll be buttressed by a fading superpower. After all, the United States, whatever will be left of it at this point, has made a commitment to defend Saudi Arabia against any foe. And guess who Saudi Arabia's foe is going to be at this time?
Good luck with that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, listen, the United States military couldn't defeat the Houthis. So,
They have an IQ of 68.
now you're going against Yahweh and Dode. There will be what could be compared to the appearance of swift flying armaments and war transports, Zeus. This phenomenon could be perceived as being similar to armored personnel carriers and mobile cavalry, especially pertaining to the way they run and are driven in pursuit of foes. Yoel, Yahweh is God, Joel 2:4. As with the loud roar and the thunderous rumbling of these wheeled military vehicles upon the summits of the mountains, their leaders seek the high ground as they leap about, springing into the air like the crackling of a flame, of fire devouring stubble. Boy, that's going to be a horrific sight, isn't it?
Yeah.
Such is the nature of this multitude of unenlightened people, this vast and severe throng of militants drawn up, aligned, and arranged for war. I suspect that this war is going to last a goodly period of time. I think it's going to come in waves, with the first wave being in June, probably, of 2027. And I think these waves will just continue to roll in, being devastating against Israel, but at least enough time to give certain members of the Israeli community time to think about the plight they're in and make a good choice regarding Yahweh. And then you're going to have while all of this is going on, you're going to have Elia and Yada on the Temple Mount trying to garner the attention of Yisrael and to get them to return to Yahweh. And so this is wave after wave coming after them while this is happening. But I think this final throng that comes against Israel is spurred on by the corporeal manifestation of Hasatan that's going to kill me on my body anyway, a useless part of me. I'd give you about 20% of it right now just to thin down a bit. But that's going to occur on Teruah in year 6,000 2033, September 24th. I think that these are going to be simultaneous events. I do think that God's going to light the flames under the sacrifice of the Adamah Parah. At the same time, his flames chase away those Muslims, and there'll be some Marxists and some MAGAs probably, that are pursuing God's people in Jerusalem. I see this as all sort of culminating simultaneously. I think it's going to be a dramatic show. God's going to have quite an entrance this time.
Yeah.
It's not going to be quiet, like it's quiet when he met with Abraham and Sarah. This is not going to be quiet. This is going to be a grand spectacle. Even his son, Dode, comes back as brilliant as the sun. So based upon the prophet's depiction, this continues to appear like a unified Islamic invasion, perhaps led by Iran, aided and abetted by perhaps China and Russia, all seeking world domination. And should the assessment of Iran, China, and Russia be correct, and it fits the bill at this time, then the motivation will be simmering hatred, revenge, and access. But then let's not keep in mind the deal that Trump just made for Saudi Arabia to maintain the petrodollar on the purchase of its oil and gas is that the United States military would defend Saudi Arabia against any foe. So could easily be Saudi Arabia or the United States or any combination of these nations working with the Mujahideen, so that it's a multi-level assault. You don't just have the jihadists by the millions on foot. You don't just have the rocket and drone and missile barrage, but you are also going to have a military component. And it could be China, could be Russia, could be Iran, could be Saudi Arabia. It's going to have a very formidable military by that time. It could also be the United States.
Guess who else? Greta Thunberg and her little flotilla.
Oh,
she's definitely going to make it.
She wants Greta to come back in the flotilla.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Me, no. If I see that twit's face one more time on X, I might blow up X.
Well, you could incinerate her, like a good dragon.
She'd be toxic. China and Russia are in bed with Iran over oil, and therefore heavily vested in Iraq and Syria and Lebanon. And they would gain unfettered access to the Mediterranean and the Red Sea with Israel out of the way. Further, both China and Russia are strategically invested throughout Africa, particularly in Ethiopia, and there's considerable rare earth mining interest throughout this region. There's just lots of motivation. And China is Israel's second largest and fastest growing investment partner during a time when the U.S. is imploding and imposing all manner of global restrictions and fighting a proxy war that is losing badly against Russia. So there's a whole host of possibilities that could make this battle worse. But the one thing I wanted to make certain we understand, Ezekiel speaks of a Magog war, of a Gog from Magog, and a valley of dry bones and all of that sort of thing. It's all nonsense. There is not going to be an Armageddon. There will be no Armageddon. There is no Magog Federation. There is no Gog. Ezekiel's trash. It's all a false prophet.
There's no Mahdi either.
Well, the Mahdi is a different deal altogether. I don't speak much of the Mahdi in goddamn religion or prophet of doom before it, because the Mahdi goes
Shia.
many, many centuries past Muhammad. My exorcism of Islam was limited to what Muhammad said and did, what Allah said and claimed to have done, with the Quran and Hadith revealed during Islam's formation. And that was still 4,200 pages. I tried not to go beyond that because then you're dealing with interpretations of Islam as opposed to the Islam of Muhammad and Allah, which is the only Islam that really matters. And but so that people know, the Mahdi is part of the Twelvers. The Twelvers is a offshoot of Shia Islam. Muhammad's descendants, they are the Shia. They claim that they should have the right to control the Islamic war machine, where the Sunnis are the supposed descendants of the Quraysh clan that had the original rights to the Kaaba, and therefore they have vied for power. The Shia represent about 15% of Muslims. The most Shias are in Iran and Iraq. That's something that the U.S. military couldn't figure out, that if you bring democracy to Iraq, that Iraq is going to be part of Iran, and that's what happened. But they, in their eschatology, they imagined several centuries after Muhammad that they would have their own Messiah, and their Messiah is called the Mahdi. And there's a fellow right now that claims that he is the Mahdi. He is really a creepy dude.
Yeah, he is.
And
Super creepy.
so you do have that to deal with. There'll be lots of people claiming to be the Mahdi. And there'll be people claiming to be the Antichrist, but there is no Antichrist either. That's also a revelation myth. There will be a Torahless one, however, and he will be the corporeal manifestation of Hasatan, and he's going to be very religious, blending Christianity and Islam together, and maybe with a little Marxism, which today would be very easy to do. So this reads, from their presence, the people will tremble and shake, writhing in anguish, terrorized and tormented. Every face becomes flush and pale. Like warriors, they charge ahead, quickly chasing their prey. As men of war equipped with weapons, they scale barriers and walls. And in this case, the walls and the barriers they're going to scale are the ones that will be hastily put up around the Fakistanian Islamic State, carved out of the heart of Israel, and then along the borders of Judea and Samaria, where the Muslims are going to be, against Gaza again, against northern Israel, just all around, and none of those barriers are going to hold up. It's going to be just like 10-7, but they're going to cut through the fence everywhere. So other than being reprehensible for committing 90% of the world's most heinous terrorist acts, Muslims aren't very good at most things, although we can count on them being boisterous and agitated thieves, as this prophecy foretells. They also fit the bill when it comes to being unenlightened and militant, and in addition to numbering in the billions. So they are exactly who the prophets are talking about. They are the belligerents. So not only are the Islamic Mujahideen aligned against Jews and overwhelmingly in favor of war against Israel, but as we have seen, they have a thing for scaling walls and evading protective barriers. They're quite good at it, so long as they can steal a bulldozer from time to time. Also insightful, the most defining event in Islam, it's the Pledge of Aqaba. And the Pledge of Aqaba is a declaration of war against all mankind.
Or we kill you.
Well, yes, we kill you.
Mm-hmm.
I kill you. Here we are told that they will not renounce this vow to kill Jews. They will continue to fight in Allah's cause until death, which is really what the 8th surah is all about. The 8th surah says you not only have to kill for Allah and do so constantly, never retreating, always focused on killing for Allah, you have to die while killing for Allah. So it's wholesale genocide. Now, but before all this occurs, Muslims will reenact October 7th of 2023 on a even more sadistic and macabre scale. the prophet Yoel reads. Walking around with their weapons, they attack without relenting. They rush into the city from within the walls and barriers, running into the houses, climbing through the windows, entering like thieves. It's a reenactment of October 7th. The only difference is going to be more of them.
Many more.
And we know that by this prophecy, they are going to enter the houses like thieves. They're going to break through the barricades. They are going to do these things, which means we know for certain the IDF is not prepared or capable of defending Israel.
No way.
So that's not speculation on our part. When I tell people that the IDF was not prepared or able to defend Israel during October 7th, that Islamic Muslims came in on foot, the overwhelming preponderance of them lightly armed or not even armed at all, on the vast preponderance of them. And they came in 3 waves, starting at 7 o'clock in the morning and going all the way through 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon in these 3 waves. And at no time did the IDF stop those waves from coming in, nor did it preclude them taking the hostages back into Gaza, nor even stop them as they were going back into Gaza. It was a complete and utter failure. And this tells us that they're going to be no better prepared the next time. Pretty sad, isn't it?
Terribly.
But that's the reason, fellas, that we were able to come to that conclusion.
Yes.
Is that the prophets say it's going to happen this way. It's obvious anyway if you just look at them. They're continuing to buy F-35s and refuelers and F-15s and the like, and lots of bombs, Apache helicopters and gunships and fancy lasers. But those things are not going to be useful, not in this kind of war. So it's as if Yoel was taken forward in time to witness the Muslim atrocities that have been and will once again be perpetrated against his people. This is precisely what occurred. And make no mistake, Muslims are a special kind of savage, unlike other militants in Israel's history, because they are far more perverted, ruthless, and cruel. You probably could not find a more savage attack on boys and girls, children, mothers and fathers, families, grandparents, than what Muslims perpetrated when invading Israel on 10/7. I mean, I don't want to go through the graphics on this program. I've done it in the past.
Yeah.
The Nazis were not this savage, not even close. The Assyrians weren't this savage, and they were mean. Babylonians most certainly were not this savage. Never in the history of human events, not even the Marxists that led the revolts in China, Germany, or Russia. They were all mean, they were all vicious, but no one close to this. This is a level of sadistic, ruthless, perverted cruelty beyond which the world has ever seen. And they did it screaming their God's name, Allahu Akbar. This was religious ruthlessness.
And they wanted the world to see it. This wasn't a secret. They wanted people to see how savage they were.
They called home on their cell phones and say, "Hey, Mom, great day, man. I raped three Jews. I mutilated some 2 or 3 children. I've got a couple of abductees, their grandmothers, but that's part of the prize. God, it's been a really good day.
Wow. Yeah.
You're so proud of me."
They did it with cheer in their hearts.
No.
Joy.
Just
Absolute sadistic joy.
Yeah, they're demonic.
Psychopaths.
That's the only way to describe them. The Christian New Testament demonizes Jews, but for no reason. In Islam, Muslims become demons because their God was a demon. So make no mistake, these will be Muslims, Satan's army. What we have read describes militants more reliant on vast numbers of fighters than advanced technology. This is going to be a horrifying experience. And the only protection will be Yahweh and his covenant. In his family, your family is protected. But for that to occur, you will need to join us on Shabuah, or at the very end on Teruah. But by the time we reach Teruah, we are at the end. So I would recommend Shabuah if you don't want to experience this. A good deal, by the way. You get to live forever. You get enriched. You get empowered. You get adopted into God's home. You are perfected. I mean, it's a really good deal.
Yeah.
I'd recommend it just even if there wasn't a contrast. What could be better?
Yeah.
You get to be
You
God's
killed me,
gift.
huh?
Yeah. I mean, you know, back in the olden days, it was really cool to be royalty, right? If you were the king's firstborn,
Oh, yeah.
man, that is really swell. And if you were even the daughter or the wife or the any other family member of the king, I mean, life's
Yeah.
pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Well, here we're
Whole
the brothers
family.
and we're the brothers and sisters of the kings and the sons and daughters of God. Why would you want that?
Right.
It seems like a pretty good deal. And all you have to give up to get it is you have to stop being religious. You need to walk to God so that he can perfect you, which means you need to observe Pesach, Matzah, and Bakodim as they were intended. You need to trust and rely on God as opposed to your political party or your military. That seems like that's reasonable too, particularly with their current failures.
Mhm.
And then you need to closely examine and carefully consider the terms and conditions of the covenant. Well, that seems like a really good idea because it's that covenant that opens heaven's door for you. And then if you're a man, you need to be circumcised. And if as parents, you're supposed to circumcise your sons on the 8th day so that they remember. I'm not sure what part of this is not beneficial.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Whoa.
Yeah. So back in the garden, you had some instructions. They weren't many. A couple of instructions. And they had everything. They had close contact with Yahweh.
Mm-hmm.
They had a beautiful garden.
Mm-hmm.
It was protected. Everything you could possibly want.
Mm-hmm.
Work to do, love,
Mm-hmm.
beauty, had it all. Except Chawa decided, yeah, not enough.
Yeah, she wants.
Just like Israel.
Yeah.
Not enough. I want to be God.
I want to be God. Yeah, just like Israel.
Yeah, and then we got Paul. I want to be God. We got Muhammad. I want to be God. Akiba. I want to be the son of a star and a God.
Yep.
Israel, that is where you are. Get over yourselves.
Yeah, every
first.
religion, men are gods.
Get over yourselves first.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's the first thing that Jews have to do. They have to get over themselves. They have to do what Abraham did.
It is
They have to
the
do what
only
Moshe
way.
did. What did Moshe and Abraham do that made them unique? They both walked away
Mm-hmm.
from the most powerful and influential religious and political kingdoms of the time.
If I may,
Mm-hmm.
Jews know what this means. And I can look you straight in the face and tell you if you do not walk away from your father's house, and you know exactly what that means,
Mm-hmm.
you're going nowhere. In fact, you're pedaling backwards. That's
Yeah.
it. That's all.
Yeah, the father's house. If you look at the long history of
Destruction.
of Israel, the fathers were always religious. They were always contentious, and so
Corrupt their children to the third and fourth
yeah,
generation.
so you have to walk away from the heritage and the culture and the religiosity
of
and the
Judaism.
politics of Israel and Judaism. You can celebrate being Jewish. You should.
It is deadly. October 7th should teach you that.
Yeah.
It's deadly.
So you ought to celebrate the most important ethnicity in the world, being Jewish, while you despise the most hostile religion in the world, which is Judaism. And the reason Judaism is the most hostile religion in the world is that its target is Yahweh. It
Mhm.
robbed Yahweh of his name. It robbed Jews of their Messiah and Savior. It created Christianity and Islam.
It is the mother to the two little
Yeah, it's the
stillborn children.
the whore's whore.
Yep, for sure. Oh,
Yes.
look.
Wookie is now trying to climb up and says, "Okay, come on, Wook, you can come here." Okay. Hmm.
Oh.
There you go, Wook. I'm sorry. Did I hurt you when I picked you up? I'm sorry. You tell me the show should be over now. Asher's saying the show should be over. Time for you guys to go off and party.
Pool party.
We're gonna have a little party now. Now, if you had a tail that was that handsome, wouldn't you wag it
Show it
too?
off.
Yeah, I
Sure.
think you'd show it off. That is second only to Leia. That is the cutest tail in the household by a lot. They even have the same hair color now, Leia and Wookiee. They're pretty cute together. And I don't know if you've ever noticed, but Wookiee has lips to die for. This is not, most dogs don't have.
He's got the Angelina Jolie of dog lips.
I know.
It's amazing.
Wookiee. And I heard Kirk that at your household that Wookiee with your dogs, that Wookiee is a kind of a internet sensation.
Both my dogs, they watch him on YouTube and watch it
Yeah.
on YouTube, and yeah,
All the bitches love Wookiee.
Yeah. Wookiee's a little you're a handsome guy, aren't you, Wook?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the bitches love Wookiee.
Yeah. So. Well, gentlemen, I think we have definitely come to an end of our program. It is a tail wagger. We know
get
that.
out while we can. Yeah,
We know it's a tail wagger. Hi there, Wook. Wookiee now has to get down because Wookiee
Actually,
has evidently dogs have crack. I didn't know it. And Wookiee's is hooked on
yak bones.
yak bones.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you know what a yak bone is, but it's the
Himalayan.
yeah.
It's one of-
No, it's a form of kind of kumis. I think it's the when I was in long time ago, I was in outer Mongolia, and out in outer Mongolia, the drink is fermented goat's milk, and
horse.
this is the equivalent of that taste, and Wookiee is hooked on it, and so.
Like tonic.
Asher has decided that he likes them too, but if I give both of them one, and they're pretty formidable, that Wookiee's deal is that what's Wookiee's is Wookiee's, and what's Asher is Wookiee's. So Asher will go, Wookiee will go hide his, and then he'll go and
Steal
deal with
hers.
Asher until he can distract Asher with that tail of his, and then he steals the yak, and then he has both of them. So
He's a pirate.
he's a pirate.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, he's a
right now,
pirate.
right now we have Asher eating a yak, and Wookiee just can't handle it.
Stalking.
Wookiee is stalking. You can see it on my feet, around my feet. You can see that, that Asher is trying to walk away from Wookiee. So, but Wookiee is stalking
He's very
Asher
persistent. Yeah.
to get the yak bone. So we have a little drama playing out here,
Doggy drama.
and doggy drama, and our dogs are such that Asher is exactly as the name implies. She is lovable. She is approachable. She is the path to great joy. She is
She's a sweet
a
dog.
sweet Labrador
Yeah, she's a sweet
that
dog.
is all love. She is Coleb. And Wookiee's a bit of a rogue.
Yeah, he is.
Wookiee's got
Wookie
that
used to
big,
go down every morning and wake me up, no matter. And I kept trying to say, Wookie, y'all, they get up real early, sun up. I don't.
yes, they don't. Well, Wookie says you're a
Yeah.
guest in my house. It's my
Yeah,
job.
that's right.
Yeah.
Jump on my chest and say, we're up now. Come on.
We're up now. Come on, let's go play.
Yeah.
Time for you to pet me. Dogs are interesting companions. I'm pretty convinced we're going to have dogs and forevermore because they're just too lovable and enjoyable to have around. And now when we look at how far humankind has fallen, guys, I think that for the most part,
we got a lot to catch up to.
yeah, dogs are a better bet.
Yeah.
I think there's some dogs that would earn their way into Shamaim long before most humans.
Absolutely.
They're a whole lot nicer, and anyway,
And
this
they're
is
faithful and loyal and trusting.
yeah, they are faithful and loyal, and they're awfully entertaining, and great companions, and Yahweh loves companionship. So as we leave this time of great brilliance and also great darkness, I mean, here it says that the earth is going to quake before them, the heavens will be shaken, the sun and the moon will grow dark, and the stars, their brightness will be taken away. This is Joel 2:10. This is what is going to transpire as a result of human malfeasance. Religion run amok, politics run amok. This is right now, every week with Trump is a new calamity. This is like 8 years of calamities later. And just right now, we're all punch drunk and shaken with what in the hell is that idiot going to say tomorrow?
Yeah.
And well, this is 8 years of that. And finally, just the earth itself gives up. I said, I'm not going to do this anymore. The earth kind of becomes like Moshe. No, I'm not doing this anymore.
No,
Kill me now.
Yeah, might as well just kill me.
Kill me now.
There'll be a moment where the sun and the moon have grown dark. I mean, we've already plastered over and robbed Dode, who is the son of all of his achievements and accolades, and he's the sun, and the moon reflects the sun's light. If the sun goes dark, the moon can't reflect his light. Plus, there's a day in here where the moon gets sacrificed, and so everything is going to grow dark. And,
Hey.
and that contrast is really when the Dode returns as brilliant as the sun. It's that contrast that again is like that contrast of why some of Gaza has to remain as sheepfolds, why some of the desolation of the birthplace of Islam and Babylon have to remain in ruins for us to have that contrast. Well, this is going to be the contrast. The darkest time is going to end with the most brilliant.
I think that without the darkness, Israel won't be pushed to think. She only tends to think rationally when she's pushed into a corner.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No,
And those who don't make it on Teruah, they will be in that camp.
Yeah.
And it will be a great darkness. One I don't wish upon any Yahud. And if you have any sense left in you, you'd grasp hold of the information in those books.
Yeah. This is indicative also of just how dire it's going to be at the end of the time of Jacob's troubles,
Israel's
troubles, that the earth is going to be in the throes of nuclear war. It's going to be this massive plague of Muslims ravaging Israel. I think there's going to be all manner of volcanic eruptions, solar storms,
Nuclear winter.
nuclear winter. It's going to be really a
Horrible.
horrible,
Awful.
horrible situation with mankind's just going to ruin this planet. So from heaven's perspective, darkness can also be a state of mind, however, and in this case, Muslims will be out of their minds, ravaging God's people. And we know that some 5,000 Mujahideens were so barbaric that they left a gaping wound on Israel on 10/7/23. So it's hard to imagine the havoc that 100 to 1,000 times this number will cause. But that is exactly what Yahweh is telling Israel is going to occur. And while these Muslims will be intent on genocide, Jews should be forewarned that they are unfortunately readily distracted by rape and plunder, even sadistic torture, as these things are encouraged by their wannabe God and their false prophet. But there is more to the story. In his depiction of universal Genesis, rather than bara creating the sun and the moon on the fourth day, Yahweh revealed that they would be greater and lesser lights to illuminate the meaning and the timing, even the fulfillment of the Moedim, the eternal witnesses to the restoring testimony. And in this regard, Dode, who Yahweh equates to the brilliance of the sun, transformed our lives by fulfilling Pesach, Matzah, and Bikurim. And when we think of that, well, God's firstborn will return to initiate Kippurim reconciliations between Yahweh and Yisrael. No one knew any of this, that it was going to happen this way prior to Dode's Bashar, his herald.
And they still don't.
Well, they don't listen very well. They're a tough crowd.
But it's there.
We know that, but we're gonna stick to this, and we're going to prevail. And now we have Yada Yahweh to share. We have the Yahweh blog to share. We even have Leah contributing to the Yahweh
On
blog.
screen.
On screen speaking to her people, Yisrael. And in this way, Yada is also here to mirror, to reflect Dode's brilliance, just as the moon reflects the sun's light. I'm a long way from Dode, but I'm the closest to Dode as we have here today. So therefore, in this prophetic pronouncement, Yoel is revealing that in the midst of this murderous Islamic assault on Israel, the enlightenment provided by the sun, symbolic of the sun, and the moon, representing the one reflecting the king's light, will diminish. And this is because of Shabuah. On Yahweh will be withdrawing the covenant family on May 22nd, 2026, a year prior to the final jihad, with the Choder stem off the main branch temporarily removed. Yada's voice will echo only through the auditory content of his written books.
Our video legacy.
Yeah, and the Yahweh blog legacy here.
Mhm.
These are the stars of this prophecy. To a significant degree, much of what Israel has come to know about their Messiah, their Savior and returning King, has come by way of the Nakri, observant foreigner. And while it will be shelved ever so briefly, when the harvest occurs, he will return. However, this reduction of enlightenment is temporary, because Yahweh's coal voice will come back for a time, and it will be bolder and stronger than ever before. Just as Yoel 2:10 leads us to the pronouncements in 2:11, Yahweh refers to his Nathan gift to his people, because his coal voice will give voice to the essential realization that to Dode, the Son, is given for our benefit. He is the Son who was given in Isaiah 9. Yahweh's coal voice will serve as the Edah, the witness, the Bashar, heralding our Malak King's return. So I'd recommend listening to the one that God has provided to his people.
And we could use a really good vacation about that time.
I think so.
Yeah.
Come
back all nice and refreshed for another 3.5-year round.
Yeah, and we are looking
We'll
forward
knock
to a
it out of the
vacation.
park.
But there is a possibility, because of the fact that while there is a mortal remnant that will experience time as we do now, just more of it. They'll be able to live for 1,000 years if they continue to respect Yahweh and Dode. But those of us who have participated in the Shavuot and the Teruah harvest, we will be able to experience time as we wish, which means that we could take a year's vacation and be gone 1 minute.
It's like that.
Or a
So, you
second.
don't want to shirk your responsibility at such an important time. You don't want to be unavailable to Dode or to Yahweh or to his people at this time. But boy, by this time, we are going to be more than ready for a vacation.
You know it.
And so I think, and I've thought this through, I think there will be the possibility of doing both, because we ought to be able to experience time as does Yahweh. And what this means is that we could take a year sabbatical, and after that year's sabbatical is over and we've enjoyed it immensely, we can return and 1 minute has transpired.
Yeah.
Because we can slow time. We'll be able to dilate time. Time is just another dimension that we will have access to.
Not to mention what we would have to learn to be useful between those time periods. Give us plenty of time to ease into this whole 4, 5, 6 dimensional thing. To learn, you talked about it. How do I get up from the chair? How do I move this direction? How do the calculations involved? I mean, it's going to take some force to even be useful. I don't want to come back and be a baby.
Right.
I want to know how to be handy.
Right. And I think one of the things that will be also true is that while we will experiment in 6 and 7 dimensions during the 1,000-year celebration of the Sukkah Shabbat, the mortal remnant of Yisrael will not have that experience until the end of the 1,000 years. So if we also get some experience doing that, then we can come back and be good teachers.
Yeah.
Just as if we take our sabbatical, and on our sabbatical, I'd like to have my sabbatical such that I still have studies set up. We still have broadcast studios, so we can still study, and grow in our knowledge.
Right.
That's part of the work, I think, is being able to study and learn. And so I'd still like to have this set up, envisioning
Yada yada.
Yada World, and Yada World's going to have, might have 8 studies. There's studies everywhere.
You don't think you're going to be in your lawn chair on the moon studying?
No.
I mean, why not? Yeah.
No, I do.
things
Well,
down
yes,
there?
I think that would be a lovely view, and I do expect to escape occasionally to the moon and look upon the Earth and have a nice read
Weirdos.
up there. I think we're going to have all of those opportunities, and it's one of the things.
Wait, did you just say you want to do a podcast from the moon?
Yeah, I do.
You're such a weirdo. Oh my god.
Can you imagine the
Fly me to the moon.
imagine the appeal of the podcast from the moon? I think it's
Now
lighting
recording from.
the lighting should be divine. The view, can you imagine the moon?
You can
the
start
Earth
off
is-
with hitting the golf ball too.
Yeah,
So
well, there's Kirk. He's already playing golf. The Earth is over the shoulder. I just think that's going to be like spectacular. Yes, sir. I want to do one. And just to taunt Elon, I think I want to do one from Mars.
I don't think Elon will be around.
Yeah, so that'll be fun. No, I expect to be able to do all of this stuff, and I expect that we're going to continue to build the library of the Yahweh blog, and to do that, we're going to need studios.
Next page.
So,
You do
A
pay
couple
cool.
of studio slaves.
yeah, I think we all have jobs, and I think that by this time we're going to be pretty good at this job, and this will be our job going forward. So we're going to be the teachers of tomorrow, and while serving as Dode's herald. But my idea of serving as Dode's herald is that if he can delegate, because Yahweh delegated to him, and he delegates to me, I'm going to delegate to you guys.
That's pretty good.
So I have
gotta get a
something to
helper.
say.
So you do need to get your own helper if you want to delegate too.
I
So
think
just so there's no surprise here, that is the plan.
Be
All right,
forewarned, Kevin.
Yeah, forewarned. So we'll leave this as our last statement, and I think almost all of this we've gone over in previous shows. But the reason I just kept on going over material that we've gone over before is it's sort of reassuring to reinforce all of this, particularly at a time where Israel needs reassuring.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so that's why I think it's still important to do this. So Yahweh will have offered by having given his voice, Kolhu, for the presence of his especially capable and influential one. And this is because exceedingly great is his mercy and favoritism. Indeed, a potent and powerful force he who engages and acts upon his word, truly valuable and important, capable and competent. The day of Yahweh will be exceedingly awesome for whoever is lifted up and carried away by him. It's a exceedingly appropriate way for us to conclude this program. It reminds us that God's name is not Hashem. It is not G-D. We even have now Rich, at least on my monitor. Maybe it'll come up on the main screen too. But it is not.
There he is.
Yeah, it's not Hashem. It's not G-D. It's most certainly not Jesus. It's not Allah. It is Yahweh. And if you're going to be
only Yahweh,
right? If you're going to be among those who is celebrating this time with us, you're going to know, accept, love, acclaim Yahweh's name. So Yahweh will have offered by having given. When Yahweh works through somebody to provide a benefit for his people, he views that as a gift. So Dode was the ultimate gift. He was the son who was given. But Moshe was a gift. The final Zeroah, Yada, is a gift. I think Yashaya and Malachi and Yoel were all gifts. So Yahweh will have offered and given his voice. Now, voice is always singular. It is through an individual. So he's speaking through someone. Yahweh spoke through Moshe 3,400, almost 500 years ago. He definitely spoke through the Psalms written by Dode, his beloved son. He gave voice to his plan and to the whole of human history through Yashaya. Today, you're listening to Yahweh's voice. I actually thought about beginning this program doing something I have not done before, and that was reassuring Yisrael by saying, this is now the voice of Yahweh. God wants you to know that he still loves you, that he is offering to protect you, that he's going to return to you.
if you return to him.
And all you need to do is to return to him. And all of these anxieties, the terrorists, the death, the fear, all go away. And so I was thinking about doing that, and then and the difficulty for me was what I just stumbled into there. I'm still not at the point where I can speak for Yahweh in first person. I still refer to God as him, and that is third person. So speaking for God, not as God. And maybe we'll get to the point that we can do that going forward, but I'm a whole lot more comfortable speaking for God than as God. But this fully suggests that this person that is given, that is offered at this time, is God's voice.
Before we go, I disagree with you that a King's Herald is just above a Joker. A King's Herald is one of the most important positions. He
Yeah.
gives instructions from the king, carries the banner behind him. This is a very trusted position, a very intimately trusted position.
Yeah, but what fun is it to take on all that responsibility? Isn't it a lot more fun to have make light of it?
Well,
Yeah,
I think Israel.
I would much rather
needs to
under
know.
promise and overperform than overhype the position and be a disappointment. So this is the gift of Yahweh's voice. That sounds like big shoes to fill,
Whoop, whoop.
and it's for the presence of his especially capable and influential one. So God is saying that there's one person right now at this time that is his voice, and that he has seen to it that this individual is especially capable and influential.
His name is Yada.
I think that is the strong inference here. And this is because exceedingly great is his mercy and favoritism. So it is God saying, I'm going to make this person effective. He's going to be a bold and courageous communicator, fully capable and competent. And that's going to occur because, well, the fact is, I love you. I want to favor you. And there's no way you're going to know how much I love you and want to favor you if I don't speak through this individual and empower and enable him to speak for me so that you can listen. Indeed, a potent and powerful force, he who engages and acts upon his word. It is the essence of who we are and what we have always been. When we began this journey with Yahweh, we said we would go to where his words lead, regardless of where they go. Where he goes, we're going to go. And we have done that faithfully. And so there is power, great portent, is anyone who acts and engages. You can't sit on your duff and do this job. You have to be engaged.
Definitely.
You got to want to contribute. You got to get up each day and say, I want to make the world better for God's people. I want to acquaint Yisrael and Yehudah with Yahweh. I want Jews to become Yehudim again.
And they are not easy.
And it takes a powerful force to accomplish that. And it takes someone willing to get up every day and engage based
get
upon
dirty.
the words of Yahweh.
Mm-hmm.
And this individual then, and individuals become truly valuable and important, capable, and competent. And all of this is because the day of Yahweh is exceedingly awesome. For whoever is lifted up and carried away by him. And of course, the day of Yahweh, Yom Kippurim, October 2nd, 2033, sundown in Jerusalem, 6:22 p.m.
Mark your calendar.
Mark your calendar, the 120th Yobel year. This is the great day of Yahweh. Everything we're doing is focused on that. Everyone who is harvested on Shavuot and Teruah, and who receives the benefit of the sacrifice of the red heifer on Teruah, is going to be there. Every moment of our lives is focused on cultivating the most productive harvest of the finest people, the souls with the greatest attitude and attributes, love for Yahweh and for his family and for his covenant and for his Moed Mikre, for his beloved son. Everything we do is focused on making this exceedingly awesome day of Yahweh, such that God has the great joy of lifting up his covenant family. So I think, ladies and gentlemen,
Is that a wrap?
and gentlemen, gentlemen, for participating. Wookie, I appreciate your brief debut and tail wagging. And nice to have a full show of Leah. I am so sad for Israel to have to be enduring what they're enduring. It pains me to have the whole world turn against you. But I do know that even in this dark time, the light will be the ultimate contrast. You now have an opportunity to shed your reliance on religion and politics and embrace Yahweh. Become part of his family. Be among those who are lifted up and carried away.
Better sooner than later.
Sooner you join us, the more vocal the chorus. You can join the likes of Rich here in Paradise. How do you like Paradise so far, Rich?
Yeah, Rich, come on.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah,
No-
it's
no
better.
pressure
Is it
there.
better than Kansas?
A little bit different.
I look out there and see the pretty blue every day and say, yeah, this is better than Kansas.
Well, boys, is that a wrap?
That's
Yes,
all right.
ma'am.
Okay.
All right. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat
shalom,
shalom.
y'all.
Be safe, Israel. We wish you
Yes.
all the best.
Yes,
Good
we
night.
do. Thank y'all.